Over the past 30 years, ChildSafe has provided comprehensive outpatient therapy to victims of child abuse, particularly child sexual abuse, their non-offending family members, and adults who were molested as children.
My daughter was leaving for school one morning and she just looked very nervous. She looked at me, she was at the front door, and she says, "Mom, there's a letter on my bed that I want you to read." And my heart just went boom, and she ran out the house so fast I don't even think I got to respond to her. I read the letter. My husband was getting off work that morning and I called him right away. Read the letter to him and I told him, I know who did this. I know who did this to our daughter. I don't know why or how, but I know it's my father.
The way I reacted when I found out, and I wasn't abused as a child. Michelle was abused, repressed it. So I think when she found out, it started stirring things up right away. I, at first, as important as it is to believe it, I at first didn't want to believe it. I was like, oh no, come on, that can't be true. And she was telling me her dad did it, and it was just like, I had such a hard time believing that. That was my thought process for probably 20 seconds,
So he went and picked Lizzie up, left work and went and got her from school, and she was clearly upset. Brought her home, and as they were walking to the car, he asked her if it was her grandpa Jack, and she said yes. And sorry. No matter how much I talk about this, when it comes to her, I always get so upset.
Once I saw her, I was like, this is real. She was crushed, she was broken down, and so I didn't want to believe it, but it was there, you had to. Then my only thought from there was, okay, I know she needs help, so I sought out to get her help.
We can't turn people away who are traumatized. I mean, if you think about it from yourself, if it was your child and your child had been traumatized in some way like this, and you called the agency that's supposed to be the best to treat that trauma, and they say, gosh, we'd love to see your child, but we have a waiting list, it'll be a couple of months, and your child's having nightmares and night terrors,
and they can't go to
and they
school,
can't concentrate in school, and it's just one thing after another with this child. I can't even imagine as a mom how that would make me feel.
Or if we said, well, you don't have the right kind of insurance, or you can't afford to pay our fee, therefore we can't see you.
And so we've always said, you know what,
we'll find a way.
We'll find a way.
We'll find a way to
come
see
on in.
So when we found ChildSafe, and it was kind of an act of God that we found them, just paper on the counter. They weren't clinical at all. They were caring. They were like someone that actually cared about you and wanted to make you better. Great therapist at ChildSafe, and I was completely, I trusted them. So it was like, here, please fix my daughter because I don't know how. At the same time though, my wife her repressed abuse was on the surface, and she was just, she was a different person, and she started going to ChildSafe, and that was the best thing right there, because she needed the therapy, and that's what saved our family. She got help, and then as she was getting help, it was time for me to go to ChildSafe, so it was a family ordeal, and they they saved our family, without doubt.
What we do at ChildSafe is really a combination of group, individual, and family therapy. And our groups are, I think, one of the cornerstones of our program.
Caregivers definitely come to us having a lot of feelings. Guilt is a big one. That they feel, I could have stopped this, could I have done anything different? And the kids' behaviors kind of serve, unfortunately, a lot of times to perpetuate the feeling of guilt, because the caregivers have the feeling of, I'm doing everything I can, nothing's getting better. So we really try to help That's why we have the caregivers come here, because they need their own services, they need their own support, and if you have an unhealthy caregiver, it's hard to have a healthy kid.
And actually, when I got into group therapy, because I thought I was just this, like, then that's when I would see a pole or a tree and want to drive into that, because you are no good and everybody will be better off. And you learn in therapy that, okay, I'm not crazy. These thoughts aren't crazy. These, what's happening to me is not crazy. It's happens to a lot of other people as well.
Lots of modalities in
Right.
individual therapy. So that's where play therapy comes into play. Using art and music within that therapy hour. The neurofeedback complements what we do in individual therapy. I know with individual therapy, Santray has been really effective in helping people just have a different way to express what they've been through, what they're going through, and where they want to be. And so we are not limited to, any manual. We're not limited to, we have to do therapy a certain way. We are going to do what works for each individual and each family, and I think that's one of the strengths of our program. Funding is always an issue with
Always.
nonprofits. And I think especially so when you have a mission that makes other people uncomfortable.
Right.
So we're talking about child abuse, we're talking about child sexual abuse, and generally people don't really want to hear it. I've had people do this because they don't, it's just really hard to listen to.
Right.
And so raising money for an organization that's their mission is, primarily treating child sexual abuse, that's sometimes a hard sell.
It's just so hard to think that we were actually in that place, because I can't imagine, now what we've been through. We are such a strong family, and I would never want to go through it again, but I'm thankful almost for it, because it's made us into the people who we are today, and to be able to help people and talk about it and help them, show people where they need to go, the steps they need to take, and it's just important. And so, I thank ChildSafe for being here, and I thank that paper for being there on the countertop when it needed to be, because it's an amazing place.